Hello and welcome to another Roy's Ramble, and I have got with me today, I'm very excited about this one. This is Lesley Dewhurst, who is the CEO of Restore, and hello to you, Lesley.
Hello, it's so nice to be here.
I'm so excited because Restore have done so much for me and so many people, and if it wasn't for Restore, I will hand on heart say I don't think I would be still going as I am today. So they have done a huge thing for me, and so we'll come on to Restore in a moment and why you're involved with Restore. But first of all, I'm in the Devon Dorset area at the moment, and I understand that you've got a link with the Devon and Dorset area. Can you explain a bit more?
Yes, I do. I was actually born in Devon. I'm officially a Devon dumpling, they're called, which is a great name, isn't it? It's a great start in life. My father was in the Navy and he was stationed down there in Dartmouth back when I was born. I nearly said the year then, but a lady should never say. We moved away when I was about 10 months old, but I've constantly been going back there. My husband and I have a camper van and we like going down to that area, and I have friends down there. My father now lives in Dorset, so I think, you know, near bits that you will be going through around the West Bay area. So, yes, it's a part of the country that's very close to my heart.
And so what is it that then drew you up into the Oxford area and to obviously stay here and work here?
Oh, goodness me, that's yes, I was brought up in Portsmouth in the end, another naval area, and then went to London to university where I met my husband, and we then moved to Oxford, partly because at the time I was working in the theatre and so wanted to remain fairly near to London, and he was had trained to be a teacher. So he applied for some jobs and we kind of drew a circle around Oxford in a vague way. And he had two interviews. One was in Milton Keynes and one was in Oxford. And so we ended up in Oxford, which I must say I'm really grateful for, because I think it's possibly a lot more interesting than Milton Keynes. And we've just stayed here ever since.
So what is that really draws you to being in Oxford and staying here?
I think it's because I really like being in a city, and Oxford really is only just a city. It's you know, it is so small, so it gives you all the bits of something you get in the city. So the museums and the theatre and a bit of a buzz, but you've also got this lovely countryside around, and rivers. My husband's a great canoeist, and so to be able to be by the river as well. I swim a lot as well, swim in the river. It's not the sea. I do miss the sea, but you can't have Oxford and the sea unless global warming is really bad. And I'm really not really wanting that. So there's just lots going on in Oxford. And of course, over the 35 years that we've been here, we've raised a family here and we've got lots of friends. You know, why would we go anywhere else? And the hospital's very good.
And of course, we know that you work in Oxford. This is your role as the CEO of Restore. And I've said a few bits on my blog and the vlog and everything else, and I've put links into what Restore does. But from your perspective, what is Restore? What's it all about?
Well, it's interesting. I've worked in the charity sector for about 35 years, and always around homelessness or mental health, substance misuse, offending, that sort of area of work. But I'd never actually worked for Restore, but often with Restore in different ways with different projects. And I always have loved Restore. And so when the opportunity came up for this role, I was really excited, because Restore's just very special, isn't it? I can't claim any credit for this. Restore is 43 years old this year, so you know it's not a spring chicken, and I think it's the sum of its parts in a way that it has developed and grown and been nurtured. And I suppose I'm going to start using lots of horticultural terms, but actually they kind of fit Restore. So Restore's kind of developed and grown, and little shoots coming out in a very kind of organic way. I think its roots were always within a kind of old-fashioned idea of rehabilitation, or of just trying to get people to do things in a way that would formerly have been done on a hospital ward, maybe, all that occupational therapy idea, but actually put out into the community and out into a much more realistic way of, you are now going to really encourage people to build their confidence and grow in themselves to feel that they can then either go back to or start up doing something within employment or volunteering or engaging with their community and being, you know, thoroughly involved in the world in a way that is so healthy for people to be so. And that's the ethos of Restore. And for those people who don't know Restore, we do that through principally through something we call recovery groups, which are groups of people who will be coming on particular set days, as it were, going to work, to participate within the recovery group, to do generally a combination of making things or growing things or cooking things or selling things. So we have several sites around Oxfordshire, one in Banbury, one in Didcot, and 4 in different parts of Oxford. And they are sometimes on allotment sites, or within the hospital setting. At Littlemore, we have a shop and cafe, which is run by our recovery group there. And we have a cafe in Mansell Way. And for those of you who've never been to the garden cafe at Mansell Way, it's a treat. It's always a lovely place to be and sit out in the sun and enjoy meeting up with people. We've got woodwork facilities and kitchens, you know, that sort of thing. So the recovery groups, people will come for up to a 2-year period, and will then during that time have received input from a variety of different staff and our coaching team, and will then progress hopefully to being able to feel that they know what they want out of life and feel connected with life and have confidence to do that, have been restored into something that they really would like to be. I think that's my quickest way of describing what Restore does within recovery groups. Our coaching team are a really big part of that, and they also work within adult mental health teams to help people get back into employment. And then we have the Recovery College, which I know you've had some contact with, Roy, and the Recovery College is an amazing model of helping people work together to develop courses and put them on for other people, to help people really learn about their own mental health or other people's mental health, how to support their friends and family and community in a whole variety of things, from something very clinical like understanding psychosis or living with depression, through to we've got one on hope at the moment and coping with the new normal sort of thing. All sorts of different, I mean, a whole range of courses. Look on the Recovery College website, everybody, and have a look. And all of those courses are co-produced. That is, they are developed and designed and delivered by people who have lived experience of mental health issues or are experts by training in that they work within a mental health setting. And very often those people have the same, you know, have both skills at once. You know, it's a lovely mixture of people working together and really delivering something that is very powerful. I think the thing that Restore tries not to do, it doesn't do things for people. We really do try to do things with everybody. We're all in the same boat, aren't we? I mean, I think we're all human beings and we're all a bit of a rum bunch, aren't we?
And how is Restore operating, obviously, during this difficult time?
Well, we've in lockdown 1, we all had to shut, didn't we, at that point, to our in-person services, and we then developed ways of supporting people remotely. And with the Recovery College, within 5 weeks, they'd actually changed their curriculum onto a digital service, which is they've done some in-person courses during the year, but are now back to digital and going really well, getting new people coming along, a whole new cohort of students who found it quite difficult to get to places before, who are now joining in online, which is great. But with our recovery services, it's all remote support, phone contact, video contact, trying to help people just keep their heads above water during this difficult time, helping people to reflect on how it is for them. And actually some people are saying they're finding new strengths they didn't know that they had, you know, because we're all in this very strange world. It's sort of an equalizer as well. I don't know. I'm a great optimist, but so I do know it's also been incredibly hard for an awful lot of people. So in essence, we continue, but it's all remote service, which brings its own different pressures.
And have you seen an increase of service users, Lesley?
We have not been able to take on many new people during the lockdowns, though we did when we eased off and went back into in-person services between about August and January, with a little hiatus in November, and we have seen some people move on, and we have taken on new people, but we know that our waiting list is that is growing. And so as soon as we can, we want to manage to kind of crack on and take more people in.
Now, obviously, we're thinking about ahead to the World Mental Health Awareness Week, and the theme this year is about nature, which ties in nicely with being out and doing this walk that I'm doing. But yeah. I want to sort of touch briefly on the cafe, the garden cafe, because yes, we've got the cafe there, but what people might not realise is, because it's called the Garden Cafe, we've got a garden as well. What is it that makes the Garden Cafe such a special and magical place?
Well, that's a lovely question. I'm really lucky. My office at Mansell Way, which is where the office staff are based, looks out onto the Beehive, which is a recovery group there, and the Beehive tends all of the grounds at Mansell Way, including the Garden Cafe garden. So it's the Beehive team who are busy as bees and scuttling around and doing the digging and the planting. So out of my office window, I can see all of their the things they're growing on and potting up, ready to go into the garden. So I kind of see it all from seedlings all the way through to being beautiful shrubs and annual plants in the actual Garden Cafe garden. So I think that there's a feeling of warmth and love and being cherished there all the time. They've also come up with some really lovely planting in different areas. There's a willow arch where kids can go and play, and there's a little gazebo bit at the back of the garden where people can kind of be a little bit separate, especially if they're feeling a bit down. There's somewhere they can go and be and feel able to enjoy the garden, but without being right in the middle of it. We've got a marquee up there at the moment, so that because we were during the bits where we have reopened, we were wanting people to be outside as much as possible. So we made it possible for people to huddle in there on rainy days, and hopefully we'll be back there before too long. It's just gorgeous, and we have a lot of community events held in the garden. So at Cowley Road Carnival, it's one of the chill out zones, which is very child friendly. There's no alcohol there, and bands come on and do small little performances, and we have an Eid festival there as well often, and so it's a very lively place.
And there is something very special about as soon as you walk through that gate into there, and even though you're so close to the Cowley Road, it is just like a haven, isn't it? It's just, yes. It's almost as though someone has taken a rucksack off of your back and you just breathe.
Yes, that's a lovely description of it. Yes, I think that's right. I also remember my first week at Restore, it was the summer, and I went to the Elder Stubbs allotments and was talking to staff there, and then went out into the actual allotment site that they run. And it was so beautiful. I had this really weird experience of feeling like, when you see a horse roll in a field, I actually wanted to roll in the grass because it was just so amazingly beautiful. And I was thinking, I'm the chief executive of the organisation that does all of this, and aren't I lucky? And I keep that thought with me a lot.
You've painted a very interesting picture in my mind now, Lesley, but thank you for that.
Little Shetland pony, yes. Around in a meadow.
I can now imagine you just rolling around up at the Elder Stubbs allotment. It's a priceless picture to hold.
Good.
obviously it's a difficult time for many people at the moment, and you are overseeing this charity that is doing amazing things, but how are you looking after your own mental health and well-being? What do you do to take care of yourself?
I go outside a lot. I think, you know, like you, I'm drawn to walking and being in nature. And my husband is likewise, and we do a lot of a bit of kayaking on the river, and we walk as much as we can, as anyone else can at the moment. So I think during the lockdown, definitely you have to get outside. I keep looking over there because that's where my garden is, and there's a bird feeder, and I kind of check that out as well. And just for me, I'm a gardener as well. That's my territory really at home, and walking around the garden and just spotting what's happening is really just, it's such a privilege to see the little crocuses pop their little heads up, and the snowdrops are out at the minute, and I just noticed today that the hellebore buds are there, and there are just some really lovely things. And I'm born in March. I'm actually born on the what is it, the spring equinox, and so that's just my favorite time of year. But actually, as soon as Christmas is past and you've passed the winter solstice and the days are just microscopically getting lighter, I have this great feeling of hope and joy, and especially today's actually really nice, isn't it? It's all sunny and bright. So that's my way of getting through at the minute. And that would be every year the way of getting through the dark months of winter as well. Because it's weird out there at the minute, isn't it? You know, you don't want to listen to the news, and you know, it's all of that stuff.
And I think
one thing after another.
What's really important as well is you've made a point there of obviously looking out of your window, but actually, even if you're in a block of flats, for example, just looking out of the window and seeing what's outside of your four walls can make a huge difference to you.
Well, looking at the sky, actually, just watching, if ever I find sometimes just seeing something move. I mean, people say that watching birds is because they move, or watching water, likewise. But you can get that from a block of flats just by looking at the sky, because, you know, we're blessed in the UK, aren't we, of having lots of clouds. So you can see the shapes of the clouds are beautiful. A friend of mine who spent some time in Malawi said that after the first year there, she really got fed up of the fact that it always gets dark at 6 o'clock and the sky is always blue. There's nothing else. And actually you can get fed up with that.
Yes, yeah. I suppose it's a bit like watching paint dry then, isn't it?
Yeah. So watch the sky, that would be, and also the tops of any trees and the movement in the trees, just really magic.
And what is it that also draws you to doing your river swimming then?
Well, I would in normal times be swimming in a pool and doing a lot of lengths, and just, you know, that's how I keep fit. And in a way that's a substitution for it, but it's very different. Swimming in a river, or we're near a lake here as well. I don't like to put my head under, so it's a bit different from doing the lengths because the strokes aren't as good. But then you get to see the water movement. We've been watching a load of cormorants that are on the lake.
Oh wow!
And noticing how many there are. So again, it's just noticing things, and I think we've all found that in lockdown, haven't we? Just, I don't know, I cycle to work when I'm actually physically going there, and just every day thinking, oh, I wonder how the pear tree I normally pass is doing, or I wonder, you know, what's happening over here. And you just notice these things. So it's the same with the swimming, except you see it all from the water level. It's good.
I think it is that thing of people have got sort of almost so fed up of doing everything online and virtual that for a blessing that they're actually getting out. They're looking at things that have always been there, but they're seeing them with new and fresh eyes. Yeah.
Which I really do think, I mean, there are some good things that have come out of this horrible year, and that is certainly one of them, that you just start valuing the texture of the tree bark or the noise that your feet make going down the road. It's just, let's just stop rushing everywhere and just try just take it a bit more slowly and reflectively.
So being out and about whilst we're on that theme, and this is going to be a tricky one because obviously we've got 2 locations here that we've discussed.
Yeah.
What would you say are the 3 best things about the Devon Dorset area, and then 3 best things about the Oxford area?
Okay, well, top of the list for Devon Dorset has got to be the sea and the coast, and the beautiful shape of the bays and the rocks and the variety and the thrift on the cliff sides and the beautiful coastal path. Gosh, we're lucky in the UK, you know, that we have this protected coastal path predominantly around nearly all of the coastline. Wow, that's just great. So that's top of the list. Second, cream teas. I mean, really, I never have a cream tea normally. I wouldn't normally go and buy those sorts of things. And I try to avoid cakes, but you can't complain about a cream tea, can you?
But the key question there for you, Lesley, is jam or cream first?
Cream first, I think. Or do I? I can't remember.
I'll put you out now on that one.
Oh, I know there's yes. And Cornish pasties, but then that's in Cornwall. Yes. You've been there, of course, already and eaten loads of those on your way, haven't you? I can't think of a third one because it's all about, for me, the moors as well, the national parks there in Devon. So Dartmoor particularly, I just think is magic. I really do. So yeah, the old mining bits in Dartmoor, just very evocative historical stuff. So that's Devon and Dorset. Oxford, the 3 things I like about Oxford: the river, the Cherwell and the river and the Thames and the Windrush. They're just beautiful rivers. You can see a bit of a water theme here, can't you?
Yes, but there are so many benefits to water though, aren't there?
Oh yeah, yes, definitely. I mean, it connects, but also just the texture of it and the look of it and the reflection and the wildlife. That's great. I do think there are fantastic parks in Oxford, university parks, and all of them. Christchurch Meadow. I remember I was working in a homeless service near Christchurch Meadow, and I'd never actually been in. And it was about 10 years later, and I kind of wandered in. Really, what a dunce. But the other thing, I suppose, would be the museums. I think, particularly the Pitt Rivers, which has to be my favourite museum in the whole universe. But natural history and the Ashmolean, I mean, you can't beat them. And certainly Devon and Dorset do not have museums like that. We're really lucky.
And what you said there as well about that the park and, you know, being 10 years before you see it. Actually, even if you've been out and you've seen it, but I think if you go into it again and again and again, you do notice different things, don't you?
Yeah. Yes, that's a good point. Yes. And actually, I was thinking of where to go for a walk this weekend. I'm going to go walk around university parks.
There we are, and you can go and get yourself a coffee from.
Well, yes, I can blag the Restore one. They're now going to regret that because lots of people will turn up and say, "Hello, I'm walking with Roy for Restore."
For anybody that's watching that's not too sure about that, have a read of my blog because it does say on there about the Horsebox Coffee Company, who were really wonderful and really kind to me earlier on.
That's so sweet.
So, Lesley, if you had one piece of advice for people at the moment to help them with their mental health and well-being, and you've got a wealth of knowledge in this area, but what is the one piece of advice that you would put as the top of everything to help them?
That's such a big question.
I know.
Piece of advice. Well, it's such a trite thing, but just being kind to yourself, that actually I think we expect so much of ourselves, and I don't know if that's been forever or if it's just this modern age where you've got to look in a certain way or have a certain job or achieve the right grades at exams or have the right number of friends, having things. I think if nothing else we've learned in the lockdown that actually it's not about what you have, it's what you do with it. And for people to be able to just take a step back and find the resources that will be within themselves. That's so much easier said than done. But to accept help, I think, to accept support, people will want to help. We all want to support each other.
So just before we go, a final plug for Restore. How can people get in touch with Restore and find out more about them?
The easiest way is to go on our website, which is www.restore.org.uk. So restore as in the way that you would imagine spelling it. And you can have a look there, and you'll have links to all sorts of things. The Recovery College has its own website, but there is a link on the main Restore website as well. And yeah, please.
And people can still get in touch with workers and so on up there, can they?
Yes, certainly. Yes, we're all busy engaging with people in that way, and we're still planning our events that we normally would in the summer. No idea whether they'll go ahead. So the Elder Stubbs Festival, which is the annual festival up at the allotments off Reimers Lane, will be on Saturday, the 14th of September, COVID willing. But
it will be.
having seen Glastonbury being cancelled, well, we don't know. Jury's out, but we hope.
It's long enough away, Lesley. It will be. It will be.
But I think it's a bit smaller than Glastonbury, and quite a bit easier to cancel a bit nearer the time.
This is my very last bit for you, and this is probably going to be the most difficult question for you. How would you describe Restore in a sentence?
A place where people can go to find out about themselves and the things that they already bring with them, which they can help themselves with. I'm sure I could think of a better sentence of putting that, but it's about Restore helps people get in touch with what they already had, and helps them believe in themselves. And so many people have left Restore services saying, I came to you not knowing who I was, and now I do. Or it's about people finding they can, this isn't a sentence, is it? But, you know, we have people who come to a recovery group and find that somebody else has a problem in one part of the room, and they can go and help them with it. I mean, generally a practical problem, because they might know how to do something. And it's that sort of thing that you find that actually you can do things you never thought you could do.
And people do make great connections when they meet up with people at Restore, don't they? So
yeah, I think so.
It's a great place for bringing people together. And I think for me in particular, and I'm sure you would probably agree, Lesley, is it's very good at making people be on a level playing field, and you're not judged for having a particular condition when you're there.
Certainly not. No. Good. I'm glad to hear that from you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Lesley, and it's been lovely to talk to you. And I'm sure that as I progress through my walk, we will catch up again, because it would be good to see how.
Well, I love Scotland, so I'm
well.
to come to Scotland with you. Can do all sorts of stuff about Scotland. 2 of my children went to university in Scotland, but we're up there a lot in a camper van.
Oh, fantastic. Well, when I get to Oxford, I might even walk the proper route as it takes me through Oxford. So if you want to join me for that bit, we can go for a walk as well.
That would be great.
Maybe
I'd love to. Yeah, indeed. I'd love to do that. Thank you.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. That was Lesley Dewhurst, the CEO of Restore in Oxford. And as you can tell from what Lesley was saying, Restore is such a special place for so many people. And that's why I'm doing my sponsored walk from Land's End to John O'Groats in aid of the charity. If you can sponsor, I'd be so grateful. The link is below. And if you want to keep up to date with all the latest news about where I'm going and where I've been, then please do check out my website. It's roypeach.com/ramble.